like really connects. Like when I see it, it links me to that person, and so it really feels like the perfect thing for that person, and it's just taken out so much of that stress.
Good for you.
You're looking at me like I'm just babbling again.
Not at all.
Okay,
I was trying to get a little bit closer
Maybe
to you.
because I feel like I'm babbling. I don't know. Two shows in a
sir.
row, I feel like I'm just babbling away, but that's
no,
okay.
sir. Not at all. You're making perfect sense. I was, however, wondering...
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just got serious. I scared you a little bit.
Okay.
It's okay. You're not in trouble or anything like that.
I feel like I have to perform or something.
Oh, no. I'm not going to throw anything there at
Okay.
you. I was just wondering what some of the symptoms and signs of stress are.
Well,
Because I know you got some great
I actually
information.
have some really great information.
What a lead-in.
Yeah, really perfect. Let's go to page 2
Okay.
of my article. It talks about, I need my glasses for this. I printed this off in the internet. It was written by a couple of people with PhDs. Their names were Ellen Jaffe-Gill, Melinda Smith, Heather Larson, and Jean Siegel, and their PhDs and MAs. It was modified on December 2007, so it's not even a year old. So it's definitely kind of really current now. And it talks about the stress warning signs and symptoms. So I'm just going to read through this. Were you going to say something?
I just think it's interesting that warning is in there. So does that mean that stress is coming on, or that it could, if it's at this level, it could get into something
Exactly. This
higher?
is if you're having any of these experiences, it's a warning sign that you need to start spending more time relaxing and just
Okay.
take a break from that.
Okay.
Stress is a natural part of our life. We're not going to ever be able to avoid it completely, but there has to be a better balance with it.
Right. There's actually 2 types of stress defined: eustress, EUSTRESS, and distress. And when we talk about stress in our society, we usually are referring to distress, so meaning it doesn't feel good. But stress is a normal part of our lives to motivate us, to get us to do things. Eustress is that motivating, I really want to do this, and you feel like that push to do it. Distress is the opposite, which is what we're focusing on.
Okay, so we're talking about distress.
Right.
And warning signs and symptoms. So cognitive symptoms would be memory problems, indecisiveness, and inability to concentrate. I'm having a little bit of that today, but I'm not having any stress, so okay. Okay, trouble thinking clearly, poor judgment, seeing only the negative, anxious or racy thoughts, constant worrying. I know, boy, this is the time, not only the time of year, but just the time in our lives where I know a lot of people are kind of worrying and just wondering and worrying about what's coming. Loss of objectivity and fearful anticipation. Some of the physical symptoms.
So before you go into the physical symptoms,
Sure.
just because you started with the cognitive symptoms, I don't know if you know this, but I brought in a clip today that talks about stress and memory and some
excellent.
scientific experiments that they've done with that, which goes pretty much right along with the cognitive symptoms. Laughter, one way to relieve stress.
A good way to relieve stress. Hot tubs and laughter. That's my life.
At the same time?
Sure, why not?
Right on. All right, so
cognitive, we're going to show a video.
Memory problems, right. So I want to show, it's a short clip, it's like 2 minutes long on stress and memory.
I think I know what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good, so.
And here we go.
Stress at home. Now scientists studying mice are discovering all that stress can make us forget things or lead to other mental lapses. Mice are good but reluctant swimmers and can easily remember the location of a subsurface platform. But after hearing a series of stressful sounds, the mice have a harder time remembering. The University of Washington's Jen-Sok Kim has learned how stress affects the brain's ability to process information. He did that by listening to the hippocampus, part of the brain involved in learning and memory.
Think of it as putting a miniature microphone into the hippocampus, and as the animal is navigating, you are listening to the cells.
He found that the same brain cells fired when the mouse identified a location and returned to it, but when the mouse was stressed,
following stress, the cell that fired in a particular location still fired at the same location, but tend to fire at a different frequency.
As he wrote in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Kim also found that stress slowed the brain's ability to connect brain cells that form memories and more.
It's not just memory, but how that memory is used for other higher cognitive functions, such as decision making.
It's research that gives us an idea of what's going on when we are trying to keep our heads above water. I'm Brad Closa.
So that was a really good example of scientific experiments they've done that show if you're stressed, then recalling memories or even making associations in memories is a lot more difficult to do because your synapses are firing at a different frequency. You can't put it all together when you're stressed.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, it seems like when I get stressed, my thoughts are all over the place.
Just like that Liz said about...
Just like the mice. I thought you were going to say, just like those mice.
Oh, they looked a little out of the place. They looked kind of stressed. I felt for them.
I know. Well, wouldn't you be stressed if you were in that little box and the little glass thing with people doing all experiments? Well, we don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other symptoms or stress warning signs?
You know what's really funny, just talking about this for a second? I heard on CNN they were talking about things that you can do throughout your day to feel really good, and you're talking about like memory and cognitive. And they were saying that if you chew gum, you know, in school they're always telling us to stop chewing gum, and actually if you chew gum, it helps you to remember better, and it improves all that thinking, memory, and concentration. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was pretty interesting.
So while the teachers were telling us that blowing bubbles was distracting, we were actually, and popping our gum, we were actually improving our memory. Go figure. Maybe we'll change that.
Yeah, I could see how popping the gum could be a little bit annoying, but chewing the gum is actually really good. I guess it could be. I could see how it would be distracting for a teacher to be sitting in a classroom with 30 students chewing gum all at the same time.
I think when I'm teaching, if somebody was blowing bubbles at me, I wouldn't care for that so much. But that's really cool.
Yeah, so they can chew gum when they leave school.
And yes, at other times. And at your desk at work.
At your desk at work, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about some of the physical symptoms of stress warning signs. Headaches or backaches, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Muscle tension and stiffness in your body. Yeah. Diarrhea, constipation. You know, I know that irritable bowel syndrome is so big. It's kind of the umbrella for all digestive issues in the world right now. We're actually going to have a friend of ours, a colleague of ours on
James
Serendip, right, talking about stress on the body related to irritable bowel syndrome and how he's found hypnosis to be really effective with that. So
right,
we'll
he's
have
a
him on.
hypnotherapist that specializes in IBS relief and has a really good practice going with that.
He does. So, yeah, well, there's a lot of that going on in the world. So, we'll have him on the show. Also, insomnia, chest pain and rapid heartbeat, weight gain or weight loss, skin breakouts. That kind of makes perfect sense. I know, stressed out, you know, the skin starts doing its deal. Loss of sex drive when you're stressed. Well, that kind, you know, the more stress, all I hear about on TV now is Viagra and Cialis, and they have all these drugs now, so it must be an issue if people are having to take drugs to do what's so natural.
We have a clip that we showed a couple of shows ago that we're going to show again that talks about the parasympathetic or the relaxed state of the nervous system and the sympathetic, the fight or flight. And when you're in sympathetic, which is the stressed out nervous system, all the blood is shunted away from digestive organs and reproductive organs and goes to the major muscle groups so you can run or fight. So it makes perfect sense. There's no blood there to, you know, do what we'd normally feel like doing whenever we're relaxed and feeling good.
You know what else I was... Well, we can get this to later. I know I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Okay, frequent colds. Some of the emotional symptoms of people having a lot of stress or warning signs of stress in their life is moodiness. Ever know anybody who is a little bit moody? I think so.
Outside of teenage girls?
Yeah, oh God, that's right. You have a teenage girl, that's right.
I love her. But boy, sometimes the whole moodiness. Anyhow, moving along.
Okay, agitation, restlessness, short temper.
What are you talking about? Sorry.
Irritability and impatience, inability to relax. I know that's a big one for people. You know, I know in my practice it comes up all the time. We've talked about autogenic stress release, where people tense up their body and then let it go, and just learning the difference, teaching their body the difference between tension and relaxation. And most people, like when I do it, the look on their face is so surprised. Like, okay, notice how that feels and how different that feels. Oh yeah. They're so used to being in that fight or flight kind of mode, and it's just not good for your body. Everything shuts down except for blood flow to your legs. I mean, unless you're going to fight that saber-toothed tiger or run from that saber-toothed tiger, that fight or flight response should be short and sweet and get over it.
Right.